There go my Uncle Lulu, my mom's youngest brother and right hand up in this mom. If this didn't need doing, Uncle Lulu will get it done, and get it done right.
Now, last week we actually spoke about Lou's character arc, where we are with his journey, how he's reaching tipping point, how and why we might see that dark turn. We went through his relationship with Imani Okoye, the messy situation with B Rilla, Famous's death, and also Unique hitting Rock's organization. Those were the main 4 plots we spoke about, and how one, if not more, would end up contributing towards Lou's dark turn. Well, after episode 408, it was a situation with B Rilla, his stupid mistake with Kenyatta and Julius during the robbery that went wrong, which was always going to come back around. But I think we always knew Lou would return some way or somehow. I really don't believe it's much of a surprise, but it was a gangster way to make his return, and we did see a very devilish kind of smile from Lou towards the end, after he did pull the trigger. You could tell he definitely liked it, and that's something we're going to discuss in just a moment. But now that we've seen Lou's dark turn, what's next? That's the question going forward. What happens now? Will there be any consequences to this kill? Will B Rilla learn his lesson? Will Imani Okoye be suspicious of Lou? And where does it leave Lou's character arc for the rest of season 4? That's a hot topic of discussion in today's breakdown, as we look forward to all things Lou Thomas in Raising Kanan season 4. Now, once we saw B Rilla making this stupid move, we knew it would impact Lou in some shape or form. In fact, I think we can probably go back even further and say from day one, B Rilla was a ticking time bomb. I think it was after episode 403, I did question, will B Rilla be worth the trouble that he actually comes with? That's when I first started questioning B Rilla because of his volatility, the way he was behaving, how Mr. Gelfand dropped the hint about him keeping his cash at home, rather than in banks. From then on, it was just a waiting game for B Rilla to really mess this up, where Lou would inevitably have to clean up his mess. Now in episode 408, when he heard about who B Rilla was involved in, he looked at B Rilla and thought, you absolute fool. However, Lou did actually try and get this resolved peacefully. That's who Lou is. He is actually quite a reasonable guy who will approach situations and try and de-escalate them before they end up here. We saw him do it back in season 1 with Unique when he wanted to make sure the showcase went as smooth as possible. When Crown was having financial trouble back in season 1, he was on hand, although it was a favour for a favour, and considering he's done B Rilla a huge favour here, he might be cashing in on that at some point in the future, something to definitely keep in mind. We know nothing is ever free in the world of power, but the way these guys spoke to Lou, the way they put him down, shout on his name, his reputation, and who he is, that's not something he was going to stand for. These guys have heard about Lou Thomas before, but I don't think they realised he doesn't need muscle, he doesn't need a crew behind him. When Lou gets shit done, he gets shit done, and often he actually gets things done low-key on his own. It was cold, ruthless, it was Lou Thomas that we knew from season 1, and it simply just had to be done. Kenyatta and Julius had Lou in their sights as well as B Rilla, so much like the situation with Marvin, Rock and the Italians, it's either them or the Thomases. They know what they have to do with that situation. Well, Lou knew what he had to do here, and the smirk definitely did give it away. Lou loves this shit. It may have made him turn to alcohol and spiral out of control before, but that was stemmed from the situation with D-Wiz, getting rid of a kid. But deep down, Lou's always been a hustler. However, these murders will be questioned by law enforcement.
It's our understanding that the two of you were here during the time of the shooting.
So we are going to have law enforcement coming in and questioning Lou because they were at the studio around the same time as the shooting. Whether they're able to make anything stick in terms of Lou being behind it, who knows? We literally spoke about law enforcement and their role in season 4, how Garcia is ramping up his particular investigation, how Rock could potentially use law enforcement to do some of her dirty work for her. But will this one go anywhere? And could it spell trouble for Lou? It definitely is out in the open and it certainly can't be ruled out. If he does end up in trouble, the Thomases will need to find a new lawyer. And on that note, they did speak about another lawyer earlier on in season 4, when Lou was actually looking at this kid to bring into the studio. His mom was said to be a hotshot lawyer, who does work for a top law firm, who Imani Okoye did go to college with. So there's a connection. Definitely another small little detail just to keep in mind. These little nuggets they drop about certain characters, especially now that the Thomases no longer have Andre Barnes, may be worth paying attention to. Maybe something that might come back around in episode 9, 10, or maybe even in season 5. When you're in this line of work, having a lawyer on hand is always a good idea. But in terms of whether it spells trouble for Lou or B Rilla, I mean, I hope it doesn't, but just want to keep an eye on. Let's see how law enforcement question Lou and B Rilla. What do they know? Do they have any eyewitnesses? Can B Rilla hold himself together if he's ever brought in for questioning without Lou being in the room? Has he finally learnt his lesson? Or will he make yet another silly mistake because it doesn't change his situation? He's still desperate. He's still got a baby and a young family to provide for, so his situation hasn't actually changed. Hopefully he has learned his lesson, which I do think he has, because he was reluctant to carry out the hit this second time, but he is someone who's still very volatile, crazy and idiotic. And with B-Rilla, I just don't think you can rule out any more stupidity. Let's wait and see. Now that's the situation around the murders. Law enforcement coming to question Lou and B-Rilla. But what about his fate now that he's somewhat back to being the real Lou Thomas? I do think we need to remember what Stefano said back in 306, which not just applies to Rock, but also Lou. Once you're back in, there are only two ways out, death or jail. Stefano warned Rock back in season 3, and that same thing now applies to Lou after 408. He's back in, and now there are only two ways out, which I do think will be the outcome for a lot of these players. Death for most, maybe jail for one or two. I would like to hope some of these characters do make it out of this chaotic world, just like Symphony did back in season 2. I do hope Crystal is someone who is able to survive, although probably quite unlikely if I'm going to be totally honest. If Snaps and Pop reveal themselves to Crystal, I don't think there's any way she can survive, because then she knows who's behind her kidnapping. But once you're in, you're in. Just have a look at Ghost in season 3 of Power. He started the season as a legit businessman, running Club Truth. He thought he could leave his old life behind, but the shadow always remained. There was always constant reminders dragging him back in, and in fact, it didn't take too long at all for him to ring Tommy and say, "It's Ghost." The fact is, you can't run from who you are. Ghost being in Club Truth in these fancy suits masked the character that he actually was. We can probably say something very similar with Lou in terms of music and the studio. However, I do think Lou is a character who, like Marvin, is in danger, of course. All of these guys are always in danger, but I do think he will survive season 4, with his death most likely being the first one in season 5. Now, in terms of how else he could start stepping into the game a bit more after his dark turn in 408, we know Rock needs a lot of help at this moment in time. She hit Unique back by taking out his connecting Quan, but don't expect Unique to just sit still and not hit back. I do think he'll want to hit Rock where it hurts, and people may think this Unique is different because he's quite hot-headed and volatile. He's got a short fuse, but he's still quite calm, calculated, and he's still got a bit of smoothness about him still. Just have a look at the move that he made with Snaps and Pop. He knows that he can't attack Rock's organization in the streets because of the order from Phil Russo, so he found a workaround with another way to hurt Rock. He wants Snaps and Pop to broker a peace deal between Stefano and Phil Russo, and if that happens, along with the mess that Marvin's created, I think Rock really could do with Lou being by her side. I think they've already given a little foreshadow and a clue anyway that Lou's ready to put that work in for the Thomases. The moment that Rock gave the news that Unique was still alive back in 407, Lou said it straight away. They needed to make him dead again. There was no beating around the bush. Make Unique dead again were Lou's words. We know Rock's got the issues with the Stefano playing between her and Marvin, a potential peace deal between Stefano and Phil Russo, Marvin's mistakes, one of them not killing Early Tyler. Could Lou also help with that particular situation? Marvin should have definitely killed both Londell and Early Tyler, and leaving him alive is a big mistake. Could Lou come back in and do what Marvin should have done in the first instance? Lou definitely is back. If Rock tells him that Early Tyler's gotta go, I think Lou will get shit done, no questions asked. There's also the trouble with David's transportation side of things. Snaps and Pop and how Unique have started to twist Kanan's mind. When you have a look at the issues that Rock has at this moment, she really does have a lot of problems, all while trying to expand her business through Hafiz and the Afghans, with things firing towards Rock in every single direction, from Stefano, Unique, Snaps, Pop, Kanan not trusting his moms, David being a loose cannon, and also Marvin's mistakes. She's gonna need her trusted right-hand man, and at this moment in time, that definitely ain't Marvin, it's Lou Thomas. I do think he will be back to help Rock. He looks like he means business here, and to be honest with you guys, it was always going to be a matter of when, not if. There's also the small matter of him getting revenge for Fame. If and when it is revealed Snaps and Pop were behind Famous's death, I do think we'll see Lou want revenge for Fame. Although with that one, I do think that's something that may probably simmer for a while. I think we're going to see Unique, Snaps and Pop twisting Kanan's mind a bit more before it does get revealed, which may not even be until season 5. But Lou said he's willing to make an exception for Fame, and I do think he would ride out with Duke and also Kanan, if and when they do learn the truth. So definitely a lot to look forward to when it comes to Lou going forward. I do think he's going to play a big part for Rock, whether he's able to help save her empire and help solve all these problems we just spoke about. It's a tough ask, I really do think it is. But definitely Lou Thomas being back, he will be there for Rock, that's for sure. Again, he is a character who I do think makes it to season 5 with Rock and Marvin. But could he spiral out of control again? Will he hold it down for Rock in a time where she really does need a bit of help? With the fame situation, again, something to keep in mind. But I also wouldn't be surprised if that's something that rumbles on into season 5. With that being said, drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section in terms of Lou Thomas finally being back. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.